All right, and now on to the lesson about how to choose books that won't waste your time or money, which is very important because time is something we can never get back. And money is also, well, of course, the currency we use to buy everything we want, which we can earn more, but it's still very important. So, have you ever read a book that absolutely sucked? It's happened to all of us, and sometimes it's completely unavoidable. Well, not completely though. In this lesson, I'll give you some handy tips you can always use when choosing a book so you don't waste the limited amount of time you have each day to read on the books that you want to read and don't really match well with your purpose or just plain maybe suck. So, first of all, after reading quite a bit, I realized that not every single book has value in it that will benefit you and your future. Yes, there are some books that maybe as a whole are not so good, but might have a few gems in there. But is it worth reading the whole book just for those few gems? Maybe so. Okay? But you don't want to waste your time, right? So when I first started reading, my opinion about reading was that you can read anything and not be wasting your time. That was my first opinion. But now my opinion is that I am mistaken. There are lots of crappy books out there and a lot fewer great books. So when you're picking up a book, you really have to be aware of the contents of the book before you actually buy it. You might ask how you do that. Well, most people, when choosing a book, will just read the blurb on the back and think that's good enough. But just reading the back of the book will not be enough to determine whether the book is worthy of reading. You definitely shouldn't stop just at the back of the book. I know that sometimes it can be confusing when you're trying to buy a book that will benefit you, especially if you're going to a huge bookstore or searching the vast amounts of books online on Amazon or any other preferred site, book depository, or anywhere else, right? The tips below are the ones that will work best if you can get a hold of the physical book or somehow access the contents of the book online. It's best if you can actually open it and look through the pages to see the different parts of the book with your own eyes. And I know that for most people, physical books are their favorite choice rather than audio books or ebooks. But I know that some of you out there listening probably will like ebooks or audiobooks. Yeah. So, but anyway, this is my personal opinion. You have to look through the physical book or get a hold of the contents online. You don't necessarily need to see the whole book, but it does work best if you can. So in the case that you can't actually see the book, physical one, you will have to check out reviews from a variety of hopefully credible people. I recommend that you always do most or all of these tips below before deciding to read a book. I know I always do. So the first thing that you can look at is the table of contents. Take a look at the table of contents to get an idea of what the book is about. It's usually a warning sign if the book doesn't have much or doesn't show much in the table of contents. For example, if it only had the chapter numbers with actually no titles at all, like maybe it just says chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, right? How can you tell what the book is about besides reading the back of it without actually reading it as well? What it should have at least are the titles of each chapter, but it would even be better if a phrase or two, like maybe a sentence, covers what's in each chapter. or bullet points, something like that. Look at the titles of each chapter and the phrases, if there are any. Look at the language the author uses. Does it bring questions up in your mind right away? If yes, then you're definitely on the right track. Notes and index is the next one. Look at the back of the book where the author has provided notes and the index, the bibliography. Start browsing through the different resources that the author has used, different books referenced, different articles, different people, right? If you see many other great resources, then it's likely the author has done some really good research about the topic he or she is writing about. This tip is also another great way to find other great book recommendations as well. If you liked reading the book that you're reading cites, then you are most likely going to like the other book that is cited. Plus, if the topic is helping you reach your big goal, then it's best you read everything you can about that topic. It's amazing how much the notes and index can tell you about the book itself. This tool is a powerful tool because you have the tips, the ability right at the tips of your fingers. You can use it as much as you can. On the other hand, if there are not many resources in the back of the book, in the notes, in the index, then, well, that's a warning sign, right? It's likely the book is full of opinions. It's not necessarily true, but if the author is just writing from their own words, then maybe it's not supported. Maybe, right? We don't know for sure. But usually if it has a lot of resources in the back, it's a very well-researched book. Not that opinions are bad, but we have to be wary of how accurate these opinions could be. Second, the topic is so new or unique that there are not many other resources to support the author's material. This is very rare, but surely it does still happen. So in this case, use other criteria to determine whether the book is worth your time and money. Preface. The preface of the book usually has a ton of information about what the book is going to be about. Oftentimes, the author will ask the questions he or she is going to reveal the answers throughout the book. You'll love it when the author clearly states what he or she is going to answer right at the beginning, preferably in the preface. But if he or she doesn't pose questions yet, you will get an idea and feeling for how the author writes and whether the topic is a match for you. Then feel free and decide from there. Next, first and last paragraphs of each chapter. This is a very nice tip here. I know this part might take a little longer to get through because you'll actually have to open up the book and read the first and last paragraphs of each chapter, but it's totally worth it before you decide to buy the book. The core of the message in each chapter usually happens in the beginning and at the end of each chapter. Sometimes the author will even include a summary of each chapter at the end of it, right? It's great when they do that. It's great for a review after you've finished the whole book, but you can read through those summaries and then decide, well, these summaries don't really, make sense to me. They don't really seem that valuable for me at this time. Then you can decide whether you really want to read the whole book and take that 8 to 15 hours, depending on how long the book is. So that's a great tip for you to follow and decide whether the book is worth it or not. And the next here is conclusion or epilogue. So in this part here, the author will most likely summarize the whole book, at least the thesis of it and the solutions. And since these rules are not referring to fiction books where you have to follow a storyline, it won't really be a big deal to read the end of the book. It's not like it's going to spoil a secret or anything. By getting a mini summary at the end of a nonfiction book, you can decide whether the book is worth reading or not. But if it doesn't really resonate with you right now, it may resonate with you in the future. You can always put the book on a wish list for a later date. You never know when it might be just the right book for you, your needs, what you need to accomplish. And with great apps like Goodreads, it's very easy to keep track of your books on a wish list. Next, Instagram. You most likely found me on Instagram where we had a conversation about this course, but you could have found me somewhere else as well. But I do spend quite a bit of time there, so it is most likely that you did. This is also another great resource, this social media platform. It's a very, very great resource for researching about books that you could possibly read in the future. I use Instagram so much to be able to decide on books I'm going to read in the future because there are so many other book influencers and book lovers, lifelong learners, people posting about nonfiction books, and I trust these other people. I've built up trust with these other people who offer and recommend and review awesome books. So I will do my research through this site and make comments on other people's posts and just figure out, what is the best book for me at this time. And I will find so many different books that I hadn't even heard of, many new books, many independent authors publishing independently. I mean, it's such a great social media platform for discovering new books. So other than, researching on Instagram, you'll also, research through Amazon and Goodreads. If you're not familiar with searching for books on Instagram, then I recommend looking through hashtags such as business books, nonfiction books, power of books community. Bookstagram is more for fiction, but sometimes nonfiction readers will post also through that hashtag. So the more specific you get with the hashtag, the better your results will be. So Instagram's nonfiction book community is such a great resource, almost better than other places because you build up a relationship with the people. You know their tastes and you know their recommendations. Rather than on Goodreads or Amazon, you don't know those people unless you follow someone on Goodreads. You can do that and you can follow their reviews. But yeah, it's not quite like Instagram. Instagram is very, very unique in that factor. Okay, so next one, we'll talk a little bit more about reviews from credible people on Amazon, Goodreads, and Instagram. So Goodreads is probably one of my favorite places to check out reviews since there are so many different book lovers out there using the app and updating their reviews. However, I find that a lot of people will actually prefer to check Amazon reviews for some reason, but that's okay. You can definitely check out either. They're both pretty much the same, and also they're owned by the same company anyway. So no matter which website you go to, check out the reviews for a specific book that you are interested in buying and look through 15 to maybe 25 1 to 5-star reviews to get an idea whether the book is worthy of your time or not. You're looking for specific reasons why the person did or did not find the book valuable. Remember that your time on earth is very finite. So you definitely want to be choosing books that are going to be very valuable for your time, not wasting it. You also don't want to make your filter too strict, otherwise you might miss out on many great books out there. Your goal here is to make your filter strong enough. That way you can filter out the hundreds of thousands of poorly written books so that you can read the very best books you possibly can. So I hope that you find the rules I've provided above very valuable and can actually start applying them right now. On occasion, you will find that your filter will not always filter out all the not so good books. That's why in the next lesson, you will learn when to stop reading a book. So now you can move on, but do not ever forget to apply these things. There's no exercise for this lesson, right? So I leave it up to you to apply what I've just provided you. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next lesson.